of these challenges do you typically experience in training? Now, these could be ongoing challenges or they could be new challenges. So please feel free to respond using as many options as you would.
Yes, the poll is now open and I request all of you to please share your answers.
So identifying skill gaps, understanding what skills to build, creating a learning culture, getting executive buy-in, and demonstrating the value of learning.
Another couple of seconds and then I'll share the results.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, I'm closing the poll now. And yeah, so the biggest challenge is identifying skills gap, which 57% of our participants are facing. There's actually a tie. Creating a learning culture is also equally an equal challenge. So identifying skill gaps and creating a learning culture. And
Okay.
these two are followed by demonstrating the value of learning at a very close 52%.
Interesting. Okay, so I think we've all zeroed in on our typical challenges, regardless of our the domain we come from or the organization we come from. And let's see what some stats have to say about what other L&D professionals have felt. So these are a few stats which I have taken from LinkedIn's learning report, LinkedIn Learning's report, and these are globally L&D professionals were polled on what were their top 3 challenges, and these are some of the stats. So creating a learning culture, I think, was second. There's another part of the webinar where I'll talk about the top challenge, which is not covered here right now. Okay, identifying skill gaps, understanding what skills, and surprisingly, getting executive buy-in was 17%. I think in earlier days, we all struggled with getting executive buy-in. So I think the shift is already happening. So coming to the trend, the first trend, which talks about how do we reinvent ourselves. What is our role in building a learning culture? I think the key here is the challenge that we have is in redefining what L&D does so that we can demonstrate our efficacy in building a learning culture. Because without a learning culture, the closing of skill gaps is not likely to happen. Now, I would encourage you to take a look at your own L&D unit and see how do you feel you are positioned. Typically, traditionally rather, I would say in the past, we were perceived more as order takers. We would get requirements from business leaders and we would implement it. And it is only now that the role of L&D is being totally and drastically redefined to that of an impact maker, where we have a say in the decision making. So we have a seat at the table where strategic decisions are being taken. So where would you say you are positioned? So let's take a look. So this is the difference, the main difference. I think initially L&D would be associated mainly with compliance, while that was a very important thing. Now, and we were perceived as being more of a decentralized unit which didn't really play any key role in business strategy or in even implementing that to improve uh, business results. And although every professional knew the importance of evaluation and analysis and knew that there was a need to demonstrate business impact, sometimes these conversations would just hang in the air. And I think we kind of became resigned to the fact that, you can't really measure it or demonstrate impact very effectively. And it was not even expected much from us. And because our role was more of a tactical role, there was not much time or energy left to devote to the strategic aspect, where you think about the business results, the business development, and what it takes to future proof your organization when it came to skill sets. Now, impact makers, as I just mentioned, this is something that L&D increasingly has to demonstrate and wear this new hat, where we not only obsess about learning, but we also obsess about performance and measurement. And where we are called on, where we have a voice and we are seen as a strategic partner who understands the business at a very deep level. And where you're not just taking orders, but you have a vision and a mission to guide you. And you actually create a brand for your department, the L&D unit as a brand. And you strive to market that brand within your organization. And the focus is on achieving measurable and tangible impact rather than just hoping for results. I think if we sit back and take a very objective look at where we stand, I think most of us are halfway in the transition between being an order taker and an impact maker. And the way businesses world over are headed, it is vital and imperative that we really make this change to being perceived as impact makers for us to be effective in our roles. So let's look at a few things we can do. How do we transition our L&D unit to become an impact maker? So I think the main thing is that, when stakeholders know that we can be held accountable for measurable results, we already have their ears. And although there could be some resistance initially, the measurable outcomes will speak for themselves. So that is the evidence that L&D needs to present. So although we have done it in the past, as I mentioned earlier, probably we were not bold enough to talk about it, to market it, to communicate the value. The second thing is to not to move from being an order taker to be and transitioning to an impact maker is to not blindly just accept every training requirement, but to use that opportunity to really probe further and dive in deeper to see what is the actual need, what is the actual performance problem, and is that something for which training really is an answer? Now, these are not very easy conversations to have, but these are what we need to be able to do to be taken seriously, to establish our credibility. And then we need to inspire a confidence in us, as I mentioned, by our ability to show results and also by our ability to speak the language that our stakeholders speak. So, speaking the language of the business will get us heard. And the next thing is focus, where we talk about development as a strategy for improving performance. Because at the end of the day, no business leader really wants to invest in anything which does not demonstrate an improvement in performance. Trends, there are trends come and trends go, but there are some things that are timeless, and that is the businesses need to see improved performance, achieve business results, and to have training, the function of training, demonstrate an ROI, some return on the investment on the training spend. Now, the last one to uh, help us transition L&D is to be persistent in challenging the business, to think about measurable outcomes. So we need to keep proactively and in a very dynamic way, keep looking for opportunities to measure the impact. Very often we see the impact, we know there is an impact, but we need to capture that so that we can communicate it. And this is when, expectation of results will start just becoming a very normal part of the discussion. I know that in some organizations, these do happen on an ongoing basis, but sometimes we probably are not presenting our answers or our evidence or our results in the language of the business. So, just a few tips. We need to build a brand identity for the L&D team. So L&D is more than just being somebody who comes in, with a ready-made catalog of trainings and meets the current need. We need to build a brand which establishes us as a strategic partner who can also work with the business leaders to identify what is required not just now but in the coming future. So there is a need to work with the stakeholders to find out what is it we need to be doing to future proof our organization, and thereby what are the skill sets. In the poll you mentioned that identifying the skill sets is the biggest challenge, and rightfully so, and never before as in these couple of years where skill sets are the demand for new skill sets is just rising, and old skills are getting obsolete. There is an urgent and compelling need to acquire new skills and so on. So, this is where, when we step in as a strategic partner, we stop taking just orders and we start suggesting solutions for the current as well as the upcoming needs. And another tip is to ask stakeholders what exactly do they want or what exactly do they expect from the training programs, and have this down in a way that is measurable so that you can tie it back to the business goals and thereby demonstrate the impact of your training solutions.